Where ID was, there ego shall be. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love. The mind is like an iceberg, it floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. The first human who hurled an insult instead of a stone was the founder of civilization. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. One day, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. The interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious. A man who has been the indisputable favorite of his mother keeps for life the feeling of a conqueror. Civilization began the first time an angry person cast a word instead of a rock. Neurotics complain of their illness, but they make the most of it, and when it comes to talking it away from them they will defend it like a lioness her young. The mind is its own place and in itself, can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. The voice of the intellect is a soft one, but it does not rest until it has gained a hearing. Time spent with cats is never wasted. Love and work, work and love, that's all there is. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. One is very crazy when in love. We are what we are because we have been what we have been. The great question that has never been answered, and which I have not yet been able to answer, despite my 30 years of research into the feminine soul, is, what does a woman want? No one who, like me, conjures up the most evil of those half-tamed demons that inhabit the human breast, and seeks to wrestle with them, can expect to come through the struggle unscathed. The act of birth is the first experience of anxiety, and thus the source and prototype of the affect of anxiety. The ego is not master in its own house. The unconscious of one human being can react upon that of another without passing through the conscious. Religion is an illusion and it derives its strength from the fact that it falls in with our instinctual desires. The mind is like a muscle, it only grows stronger with use. From error to error, one discovers the entire truth. The more perfect the artist, the more completely separate in him will be the man who suffers and the mind which creates. Words have a magical power. They can bring either the greatest happiness or deepest despair. They can transfer knowledge from teacher to student. Words enable the orator to sway his audience and dictate its decisions. Words are capable of arousing the strongest emotions and prompting all men's actions. The goal of all life is death. Everywhere I go I find that a poet has been there before me. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love, never so helplessly unhappy as when we have lost our loved object or its love. The interpretation of dreams is a great art. Where there is love, there is also the desire to express it. We are not what we seem, but what we are a few who know. The goal of psychoanalysis is to liberate the unconscious and its repressed contents, and thereby to enable the individual to lead a more fulfilled life. The mind is like a city, it contains both light and darkness. The only person with whom you have to compare yourself is you in the past. Anatomy is destiny. The individual does actually carry on a double existence, one designed to serve his own purposes and another as a link in a chain, in which he serves against, or at any rate without, any volition of his own. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. The great question, which I have not been able to answer, despite my 30 years of research into the feminine soul, is, what does a woman want? The more one loves, the more one suffers. Man's most important possession is his dignity and the power to use it. Anatomy is destiny only insofar as it is not the destiny of the entire organism. A cigar may just be a cigar, but sex is never just sex. The ego is not a master in its own house. The mind is not a vessel to be filled but a fire to be kindled. Out of difficulties grow miracles. The only person who is educated is the one who has learned how to learn and change. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. We are what we remember and what we forget. We are all born sexual creatures, thank God, but it's a pity so many people despise and crush this natural gift. Love and work are the cornerstones of our humanness.